Welcome to the Next Step Black Filmmaking in Philadelphia. My name is Kimberley Richards, and I am the Special Assistant and African American Community Outreach Coordinator for Councilman-At-Large Dowdell. Welcome. Thank you all for coming tonight. So I'm really excited for tonight. We have something really special in store for you all tonight. We have a great panel. The Councilman Dowdell, he started a Black Film Advisory Committee, started out of our office here. And this event is our first kickoff event, so we're really excited. The committee was formed with the mission to increase a space for diversity in art and filmmaking in Philadelphia. With the goal to reach Black and minority filmmakers in particular, we are really excited for tonight, the Next Step Black Filmmaking in Philadelphia. On the committee, we have Mike Dennis, the founder of Reelblack. It's a full-service film and video production company dedicated to creating and promoting, as Mike's company quotes, good movies about Black folks. And Nicole Giles, the director in marketing and multicultural affairs for the Greater Philadelphia Film Office. Stephen Gonzalez, general sales manager of Radio One. We have Quincy Caduzi Harris as one of our committee members tonight. And then we have Micah Sims, CEO and MCTS Media Group Incorporated. I'd just like to say that I'm really proud to work for Councilman Dowdell because along with many other initiatives that he has, he finds it really important to care about creative arts and filmmaking in the city for all Philadelphians. So thank you. And at this time, I'd like to introduce City Councilman-At-Large Dowdell.
Well, thank you very much. Let's give a round of applause to Kimberley Richards. Thank you. Well, the reason we're giving her a round of applause, by the way, is because this was all her idea. Now, she does work for me, and I did say to each of my staff, please, in your area of responsibility, come up with the best idea you can, something new that we could do to really help people in Philadelphia. And one day she came to me and she said, I have this idea, and I said, it's a great idea. The reason I said it's a great idea is for a number of things. One is, listen, I'm elected citywide, and I represent a very diverse group of people, and I can't be shy about who I represent because I have to go out there, advocate for you and for other people to ask this simple question, are you in the right city? Because if you're not in the right city, then we have to make some changes. If you're an artist, a musician, if you're a creative person, if you want to build your life in this city, if you're looking for opportunities, if you want fair, meritorious chances, if you need a little help, a little push, a little encouragement, are you in the right city? If you're not, we have some work to do. So I'd like to thank you for coming out and for keeping the faith and putting yourselves at risk and putting your credibility, your art, and everything on the line, and for believing that we could have a better day. And believe me, we're counting on you to help us with this economy, to lift up the spirits of those in our communities, and to show people, what is out there for them. I'm a lawyer. I'm a lawyer not because I ever knew a lawyer. I'm a lawyer because I was sitting watching TV and I saw a guy named Perry Mason. If it wasn't for Perry Mason, I would never, in my situation, I've never met a lawyer, never knew what a lawyer was or did. Maybe it's fanciful, right? But he was a lawyer in the best light. And so from that, brought into my house was a person who was a just and capable and smart and diligent, hardworking person whose profession was a lawyer. And that planted within me the idea that I might one day be a lawyer like him. What we're doing tonight is so important for everyone in filmmaking and in our city. But as much as I can watch Perry Mason, who, by the way, is not Asian American, he doesn't have to be Asian American for me to learn something from and aspire to be. But surely stories and experiences and insights and unique perspectives that you could draw upon in your own lives are meaningful to people, and they're not just Black, but especially for those who are Black, to draw upon the similarities of what you have to offer. So this forum, I think, is outstanding because we're talking about putting your stories, whether you are an actor, a screenwriter, a producer, onto film and from film where people can see them and benefit from what you have to offer, which they might not otherwise get in their life. And so we're very excited and happy to have this outstanding panel put together by people who have been doing, just like you, the heavy lifting. And they've learned some lessons, maybe the hard way, dealt with some issues, They got their own opinions. You may have different opinions. I'm happy to hear it. I think it's very important to get truthful experiences. Those are the most beneficial kind, and I look forward to what this may do and what we may do in the future. So anything that we can do to make this city the right city for you and your success, please let us know. Thank you very much.
Hey, how are you? Can you hear me okay? Hey, I'm Mike, part of the Black Film Advisory Board, Mike Dennis. I see a lot of familiar faces, thank you. A lot of new faces too. I'm moderating the panel today. You know, I'd have to give a big shout out to our other committee members, Stephen Gonzalez. Is Steve here right now, or okay? And Nicole Giles, who's in the back, and I hope you'll contribute some of your wisdom to this panel. This is the first of what we hope will be several, regular events, to provide information and networking opportunities for people here in the city who are trying to make films. Just to lay down how the night's going to go, I mean, we're going to look at some trailers. Now, QDZ's not here today. He wasn't able to make it. But there is an exit strategy trailer on this reel as well. But everyone else is here, and I'll kick things off. I'll ask a few questions, and we'll go around. And then about halfway through, we'll open it up for questions from you guys. So please, pay attention if there's stuff that you want to ask. They'll have microphones to give it around. And then around 8 o'clock, we'll break, and we have a reception until 9 o'clock. So without further ado, just so we can get as much into the night as possible, we'll start by watching samples of the work for the filmmakers that are here today. We have Dowdell, Tanya Hamilton, James Elam, and Charlie Mack and Jamal Hill here to share their wisdom with you. Thanks again for coming out, and we'll roll the clip. All right. I think they're waiting for me to introduce them, so I'm going to pretend like we rehearsed this. And I'm going to say, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, our panel for the night, these great filmmakers, and hopefully you can hear me because they're not coming out the door. Craig, maybe you want to grab them instead of taking pictures of me. They're having such a good time talking about their careers. All right. Big hand. And I get to stay here. Jamal Hill, Charlie Mack, this is Dowdell, Tanya Hamilton, and James Elam. Lots of people in the audience, of course, could be on this panel as well, and we want to have more panels, of course. But the reason why we chose these, our esteemed guests for our first one, is that they've all made feature films in Philadelphia and gotten distribution for them. So the name of this is called The Next Step. And so hopefully, whatever your next step is, hopefully you'll get some information from them that will help us to make the city a better place. I'm just trying to line this stuff up. So to my furthest left, your right, we have Charlie Mack Alston. He's the head of 215 Aphillyated. And Mr. Alston has the vision and the resources to make 215 Aphillyated an entertainment giant. Charlie Mack has a long-standing track record in the entertainment industry dating back to 1978. In addition to creating, what were you doing, like breakdancing? We're going to have to get into that one. 1978, okay. In addition to creating the Charlie Mack Party for Peace Celebrity Weekend in 2003, he has the following accomplishments to his credit, and I have a whole bunch of stuff, but mainly he's partnered with, I have to find Jamal Hill's bio. Jamal Hill is a writer-director, born in Schenectady, New York, but raised in Philadelphia. Jamal Hill was fascinated with all types of art, particularly film and music. Later in life, he pursued acting, but after this didn't pan out as expected, Hill decided if you can't beat him, join him. As a result, he studied writing and directing. After 3 years of learning his craft, and his mother produced, Hill and his mother produced a small $10,000 independent film entitled Money, Power, Respect from a 75-page script he wrote. He shot it in 11 days with 3 of his film buddies and local Philly theater actors. The film won the Philly Underground Film Fest and was ultimately distributed by Jeff Clanagan's company, Code Black Entertainment. Soon after its release, Will Smith and Overbrook Films associate Charlie Mack reached out to Hill about his talent. Hill has been with the Overbrook camp ever since, working on such films as I Am Legend, Hancock, Iron Man, and directing Lady Gaga's The Fame short concert movie. In 2010, Hill returned to Philadelphia to direct the feature film Streets, starring Meek Mill. No Meek Mill fans? All right. Okay, all right. Pass the haterade. Meek Mill. Released nationally by the BET Network in 2012. And then next in the center is Tanya Hamilton. Night Catches Us. Tanya Hamilton, born in Spanish Town, Jamaica. I don't have a Jamaican accent I could give you. Is an American film director and producer. Okay, this is from Wikipedia. So, if you're born in Jamaica, you're not an American film.
I didn't write it.
Okay. All right, so we may have to clarify some of these bios, but anyway, she came to the United States at the age of 8 and settled in Maryland with her mother. She attended Duke Ellington School of the Arts, Cooper Union for the Advancement of Science and Art, and Columbia University. Hamilton's first project was a short film entitled The Killers, which was released in 1997. This work won awards at the Berlin International Film Festival and New Line Cinema. Okay, never knew New Line Cinema gave out awards, but Wikipedia. Her first feature film was Night Catches Us, a portrayal of former Black Panthers reuniting in 1976 Philadelphia. It starred Kerry Washington and Anthony Mackie, shot in Germantown. In 2011, Hamilton received a Black Reel Award, no relation, nomination for Best Director of this film. And she was also nominated for an Independent Spirit Award, 4 Image Awards, a Gotham Award, Clitoris, don't get me right. And this is being filmed. What kind of award was this that you were nominated for?
Huh?
Claude Trudeus? Claude Trude. All right.
I didn't write it.
Sundance Lab, all that. She's the truth. And then finally we have Dowdell, and this is another Wikipedia bio. So Rel is an American screenwriter, film director, film producer, and screenwriting educator, born and raised in Philadelphia, Central High alum. He received his bachelor's degree in English with magna cum laude honors from Fisk University. HBCUs in the building? Some, okay. I saw Golfin here. He should be, Robert Golfin's in the building. Yep. And a master's degree in film production with highest distinction from Boston University. Dowdell's first feature film, Train Ride, received substantial critical acclaim. Produced with independent financing, the film was acquired and distributed by Sony Pictures in 2005 and was a tremendous financial success. Train Ride was ranked as one of the best American films that year, as cited by veteran film critic Gerald Perry of the Boston Phoenix. The film also garnered high praise in film historian and writer Irv Slifkin's nationally best-selling book, Philadelphia, A Celebration of a City's Movies. Train Ride also won the honor of Best Feature at the American Theater of Harlem Film Festival in 2005. Rel Dowdell has been compared to John Singleton and Spike Lee in the way that his filmmaking blends urban storytelling and suspense to tackle relevant and universal social issues that are intimately intertwined with a powerful moral message. Dowdell's most recent feature film as writer and director was a drama entitled Changing the Game, which we saw the trailer for, which was shot in Philadelphia in the summer of 2010 and released theatrically in May 2012. The film stars Sean Riggs, Irma P. Hall, Dennis L.A. White, and the list goes on and on. You got the whole cast on Wikipedia and links and everything, so please Google these guys, and at the end make sure that we get your Facebook and info like that. So my first question, oh, James, wait, my bad. James has the full color. Wait, hang on, I'll show you why I overlooked it. I apologize, James. Full color, guys. Full color bio. I'm just going to do the first paragraph, if that's okay.
Whatever you got to do, man.
All right. Because we could go on and on. But James Elam is the founder and creative lead of Eternal Crescent Media, a hybrid creative service and multimedia company specializing in film and television production across various platforms. Prior to taking on media creation, James began his professional career as an associate in the litigation department of Dilworth Paxson before moving into the corporate transactional group of the legal powerhouse. Quickly developing a reputation for professionalism, James negotiated numerous agreements in music publishing, licensing, distribution, and investment, as well as general counsels to corporations' individual clients, including such luminaries as Jill Scott, Lil Wayne, and John Legend. James' role as producer started with a stage play and then film Nina Fox's Marrying Up in 2008. Following this success, James co-produced the feature film debut of notable French director Kadir Ayed. Ayed is by all accounts a rising star among directors, and the film, presently titled 513, will be Ayed's U.S. directing debut. So he's gone on to produce, and it features a strong body of work. He's several projects in development, and we saw one of the trailers. So without further ado, and we can start with Charlie.
Really?
And go down the line. Well, you're on the end. No other reason. Why Philly?
Why Philly? Why not Philly? Philly itself is a great city. Philly itself, lends itself. I always tell people, Philadelphia is a character in its own. So we kind of get co-stars to star with Philadelphia. It's very rich in history because we live here, and I'm very proud. I traveled all over the world, and I just love my town, period. So for any time that I'm able to do anything is going to highlight my city that I'm from. I'm very proud of Philadelphia, so that's why Philadelphia. I was just talking to Tanya about, me doing films outside of Philadelphia. I'm very passionate about showcasing our town. We have a lot of talent. So anything that I do, if I have say-so in it, it's going to be shot in Philadelphia. We have actors, producers, writers, even as much as trying to open up a studio here. A couple years back, we had a situation with Rendell before he left office, and down there on Broad in Washington, we were trying to get a sound stage right there on Broad in Washington. If you've seen, we actually started kind of the breaking of the ground, but then when the street came in, kind of like went away. But I'm very interested in opening up a sound stage here. I just think that Philadelphia is great. So Philadelphia.
And any other, James, you left and came back. We can go down the line with that. We'll just go down the line for the first two or three, and then we'll break it up as time permits.
Thank you, Charlie. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So why Philadelphia? Initially, I'm from New York. So I came here when I was around 8 or 9, and this city really, really changed the way I looked at life. I was the only black person in my school until I was about 3rd grade. And I really never met many black people outside my brothers and sisters. So when I came here, it was really eye-opening. I was like, wow, this is a real culture here. And, it kind of took me over. But it started off with music and then morphed into film. And, it's the characters. There's so many characters here in Philadelphia. Yeah, you guys are Philadelphians more like, so it's just one of those towns. So that's how I look at it.
Okay.
Why Philly?
Philadelphia?
Is this a place that you plan on continuing to make? You made such a great debut here, but.
Yeah, I think, I have a great interest in kind of looking outward and inward. So I love Philly. I'm interested in outside of the country as well as inside. So, the great beauty of Philadelphia to me is the history that's here. I don't know. There are a lot of things, but I think that's the history. There's a smallness to this town. It's the 5th or 6th largest, right, in the U.S. But there's something small about it that I find so beautiful. I can't have a community garden, in New York, but I can have one here. I don't know. There are trees everywhere. largest land mass in a city for a park system. I mean, there are a lot of things, Frankfurt Friends. I don't know. I mean that. Like, I think that there are a lot of things here beyond sort of the film, but culturally, there are all of these pieces that make it this incredible, beautiful, affordable, walkable, interactive city, including the idea that there are all these filmmakers and artists and musicians and who can live here, who can kind of exist here, and they're not squeezed for rents and and buying food, and so it's a livable, breathable city. So that I think that's kind of why for me.
You want us all to answer that?
Yeah, well, I mean, James, do you have an answer for that, or you just?
Sure. I mean, I don't have to, though. It's up to you, man.
Okay.
They did good.
Okay. I mean, if you have anything to add, I mean.
I'll add one thing. Charlie made a good point about Philadelphia being a character, and there's an old film by Stanley Kubrick called The Shining. And in The Shining, the star of the movie really is the hotel. The hotel is what causes everything to go into a perpetual motion with the characters. From a filmmaking standpoint, though, when I made this film, Changing the Game, which takes place about a young man who grows up in North Philadelphia, and Ethan Butler, and when I was in college, when you mentioned North Philadelphia, everybody first said to me, wow, Ethan Butler, because at the time, Ethan Butler was not the most feared city in Philadelphia. It was one of the most feared cities in the country. It made national news on CNN about the terror of Ethan Butler. So I based my main character in Ethan Butler and kind of showed him rise above those surroundings to be a success as a young black man. He takes what he learns in Ethan Butler in those streets, those demonic streets, and he applies those same tactics on a mental note to survive in Wall Street. But from a filmmaking standpoint, Philadelphia, even though it's Philadelphia, it can be used as other cities. Like, I use New York and still use Philadelphia to shoot New York. Like, I use buildings in Philadelphia to look like Wall Street buildings. So Philadelphia is also a city where you can mask it to be other cities to be friendly for your budget as a filmmaker, because you're making independent movies, as we all do. The key is to stay under budget. And Philadelphia is a very friendly city to help you stay under budget, because there's so much in Philadelphia to shoot. It can look like Thailand, it can look like Spain. It just depends on how creative you are from a production standpoint. Definitely.
Cool. No, definitely has a very unique feel and vibe, and that's very unique to. You're not going to get this in New York. You're not going to get this in LA. It's very distinct. So, James, since you passed on, I'm going to throw one right at you. This panel is called Next Steps. I want you to talk about briefly how you got involved in filmmaking, and at what point do you feel like you could make a living at it?
I started producing film about 5 years ago. Can you guys hear me? Yeah? All right, cool. So I started producing film around 5 years ago. I spent most of my professional career, as I said, in the music industry. And it was a combination of things, one of which was kind of watching the people in the music industry kind of ignore the coming onslaught of technology, and so, I just explained to artists years and years and years ago, like, you should get dropped from your record label and make videos and put them on the internet and people will watch you, so, I got tired of trying to convince people to make videos and images, and I decided that I would create some myself because, these guys, they all mentioned, Philly's a tough town. I grew up here my whole life. I grew up down the bottom. I grew up in West Philly. I went to Brook. So I know some crazy, crazy folks and seen some crazy, crazy times during my little short life. And there are some very powerful stories here. But, for me, I guess if there was a pressing thing was the determination to try to change the images of black men in film and media. So that was really the incentive and the drive. And in terms of being able to make a living, I make a living at it now. I have a rule. The rule is if you don't do something for 5 years, you didn't really do it. And so for me, this is 5 years for me producing content. I'm a partner in a LA-based, well, we actually just moved to New York, so a New York now-based production company. I have my own production here as well, a production company here as well. I service Comcast on a national level in a bunch of different markets, producing content for them. So, this is my business. This is what I do in terms of making a living. Mm-hmm. But it took me, We all know, here on the panel anyway, we all know Troy Carter. And I remember years ago, I sat with Troy. And Troy, before he ever moved to LA, explained to me that he was about to move to LA without a job, without, he knew people out there, but he wanted to learn. And so he was going to basically move out there and immerse himself in the culture without a net, essentially, and really just learn and sit and learn. And so I realized if I wanted to become that level of expert, I had a person who I could follow as a role model in that regard. And so I just, I closed my practice and I moved to LA and started immersing myself in the culture and learn the business. And
then Troy is, he's gone on to do, just for the people in the audience.
Troy he's done a lot of different things, but right now he manages Lady Gaga and probably a bunch of other people. And he produced Eve's TV show. He did a lot of really cool things. And so I watched his career in the space, and that helped me it incentivized me.
Tanya, how'd you get involved, and at what point did you feel that you can make a living at it?
I haven't gotten to that part yet, but I'm working on it. I think, I got involved maybe the old-fashioned way. I went to art school. I was a painter. I made tiny movies, and then I went to grad school and made larger movies. But mostly, I think I tried to learn how to write, because I'm a firm believer that it's the screenplay first. Can't really fool anybody with that. The script sucks. Chances are the movie will. So that's sort of where I started. I think it's like any, we're all independent filmmakers here. I think in the world over, I think we're all kind of the same people. I think you kind of try to learn your craft as well as you possibly can, and you're always learning every step of the way. And then I think that you try to get your movies made. I think the professional screenwriters are frankly smarter than the directors, because writing is free and directing isn't. Yes. But I think that, I don't know. I think it's an uphill climb, truthfully. I think that to me the goal is always to kind of diversify and to find a way to kind of live both as a director and as a writer, or to live as a director and a commercial, director, or to live as a just to have a balance. It takes a long time to make movies, and so, I think for me, I think that it's a very kind of feast or famine kind of lifestyle, and I think any independent filmmaker will probably echo some version of that, and I think that. So I think it depends on the month that you ask me, and that's just sort of the deal, and you either accept it or you don't, and you move on and do something else. But it's not at least for me, I've had to kind of figure out how to kind of create a balance, like how do I work as a writer and at the same time as a director, and really keep that balance going and try to creatively have one feed the other. So as I'm writing something that maybe it's not my own, how's it helping me become a better writer for my own stuff, but also a better director? And I would add that similarly, the interesting part is sort of when you get material that's not your own, but you have to direct it. Which happened to me last summer, and that was an interesting thing. I had a movie that had nothing to do with me at all, and was so the absolute opposite. Maybe I'd watch it like on a Saturday eating candy on the couch. And how do you sort of take a material like that and make it your own? So that, so I think depends on the month and sort of the project, but it's the up and down, I think.
Charlie, Jamal?
How did I get involved?
So how did I get involved? At the end of the day, I'm an artist, so it's just about creating art. And when I first started thinking about making films, it was like, what do I have to say as an artist? And my first movie was Money, Power, Respect. And like I was telling Tanya, I believe that you write what you know. You shoot what you know. You have the better chances of succeeding when you really put out what you know. So I wrote that film not knowing how I was going to get it made or actually caring at the time. I just needed to do something artistic. So I wrote a script, and like she said, it's free. Like all you got to do is sit down and write. So Money, Power, Respect was a gift. It was like I knew enough about the topic that when it finally did came out, it touched the right people, and I got lucky. And I was able to work for the best black film company in the world, which is Overbrook. And they engaged me. They really treated me like a little brother. And I was able to learn as much as possible in every aspect of the film game, from you name it, craft servicing to directing. I mean, I learned it all in 2 years, as much as I could in 2 years. So for the first, I guess, year or two, it wasn't about making a living. It was just about learning. Because like you said, it takes at least 10,000 hours to become a professional. And I don't even know if I have 10,000 hours in this game yet. So I'm still in the learning process, so to speak. I wouldn't even, I'm not a professional. I mean, the only reason I'm a professional, I guess, is because I got paid for a few things. So if you want to call that a professional, then that's really how it all jumped off. So, and I'm still learning, and I'm going to continue to learn and grow forever. So I'm still in the beginning of my career, I believe. So, yeah.
Okay. So how I got involved in the film business, I think, like James said, I've been involved in the music business, for quite some time. And of course, those of you that know my relationship with Will and, of course, Overbrook, it's a natural progression. I mean, this entertainment as a whole, from me being, and again, with Jamal, being around the world's best, at least, in terms of producers, studio, actors. I'm saying I'm there, sitting with Michael Mann, sitting there with Michael Bay, sitting there with Akiva Goldsman. I mean, I'm there, and I'm just like, just sitting there like, okay, it's not that difficult. And then I felt like I'm a fan of like Godfather. I'm a fan of like Goodfellas. And I just felt like we got a lot of stories that are stories. People look like us, people of color, don't have the platform to showcase and tell our stories. And so, again, Jamal, I seen what he was trying to do, and I was intrigued by his grind and his hustle. And I feel like it's my job, it's my duty to have that type of reach, with a Overbrook and with a Amy Pascal, have that type of reach and don't reach back. So I seen him, I felt like he was very talented. I just felt like he didn't have the resources he needed. And that's what I feel like my most powerful asset is, that I'm able to bring people together. And that's probably one of the things I'm very good at bringing people together. So for me, it was a matter of just telling our stories. Again, for me, it's Philadelphia, just Philadelphia, whether it's Move, whether it's JBM, whether it's the Black Mafia, whether it's Teddy Pendergrass, whether it's True to the Game. I mean, these are a few things that I'm very intrigued by. And just, like I said, Philadelphia as a whole, we have a whole host of talented people here. And again, y'all have the platform, the resources. So I feel like that's my gift to you all. If I could help out, if it makes sense, and we can work together, like my man right there sitting behind right there, a very talented man, that we're gonna work with. I just felt like that's what I'm supposed to do. I have all these resources, and I'm pulling them together. If you have talent, and we can work together, again, within reason. I can't do for everybody, but I'm going to do as much as I can do. That's why I call it 215 Affiliated. I'm from Philadelphia, but I'm affiliated with everybody. So if I could pull that together and help you out, then, so be it. But I'm very passionate about Jamal's, drive and his mission to become the best. I call him the LeBron James of the film business. He went from, he literally caught the bus back and forth to New York every day while they were doing I Am Legend. And he actually shot B unit film on Hancock. So he didn't tell y'all that as well, but really from craft services, it's humbling. And I applaud you all that don't have the resources that I have to stay there. And that's what for me, it's not about the dollar, more than it's about, again, because, in terms of the people that I work with, we've done pretty good. I just want to tell the stories. I want to be, that kind of like that bridge, that arm to assist, young men and women, that have something to say to the world. That's really what it is for me. I'm just passionate about my people in Philadelphia.
I think for me, I took the more traditional route. Like I went to graduate film school, and I had a writing background. But interestingly enough, Jamal made an interesting point about the word luck, and for any of us to get up here and tell you that to get into filmmaking and to get your film on a screen, on an actual theater screen, or to get it on BET, or to get it anywhere is an easy road would be lying to all of you here. Making films is quite possibly the hardest field to get into and to actually get a real break into it. And I learn that more now as I get older, because when I was young, I had HBO. Like HBO is the biggest thing in the world when you're like 10 years old, and I saw The Learning Tree on there, Gordon Parks' The Learning Tree, and I was like, this first time I actually saw like young black men in a film that were my age, that had trials and tribulations of growing up in the South. Even though I grew up in Germantown, The Learning Tree for me had an impact on me when I was growing up. And then I said, wow, then I found out Gordon Parks was black, and then I was like, well, if black people can make movies, then I gotta learn how to do that. So once you, in a lot of ways, give your soul to that area, as we all have done, it's really a lifelong goal after that, because you're going to have to invest in yourself. Film school is astronomically expensive to do. It's even more now than when I had a scholarship to film school back then. It was still like $30,000 a year. I can only imagine now how much it is to go there and to make your own films. But interestingly enough, when I was really like loving a lot of the black product that we put out in the 90s. Like in the 90s, there was a filmmaker called Matty Rich, put out a film called Straight Outta Brooklyn. And I saw that movie, and I was like, a lot of brothers are putting out movies in the 90s that I was really impressed by. But if you look, all those companies that put those films out back then, there was October Films, New Line Cinema, Grand Mercy, one was called Savoy. All those companies now are gone. They don't exist anymore. They've been bought out by bigger conglomerates. So in regards to my own phrase, the game has changed so much. So the inspiration now has to really come from within, as far as if you really want to make films and you really love films and you say, this is what I really want to do with my life, it's a soul-stirring struggle. And someone, as Jamal said, you have to have some luck. My lucky break was that Esther Roll helped me when she was dying to be in my first film, Train Ride. She looked at me, she said, look, and she told me straight up, she said, you know what? Black people don't often help each other in this industry. She said, I'm going to help you, and you in turn have to help out some other black people in this industry. That's what she told me. Because she told me, she told me about the hell that she went through on Good Times, and how they didn't want the father to be on the show, John Amos, and they wanted to write him out of the script because he was a strong black male character, and how she quit the show and how all these things happened. And I learned at that point, like, we have a responsibility as black filmmakers to look out for each other. Like, to me, I'm not in competition with anybody on this panel. To me, it's like, you know what? We should treat this like the Harlem Renaissance. We should all stick together. We should meet, like Mike is doing, put this together. We should meet on a regular basis and come up with a plan so that we all are eating. As you say, how do you eat? Well, we can all eat together if we all help each other set the same plate, if that makes sense.
I think, yeah, Philly, when people think Philly and music, there's a very distinct idea of what a Philly soul sound is or whatever. I think we're ways away from being able to define what that's like in film. But I think events like this will help us build the network that we need to create those kind of things. So the question is, what do you think the current state of black independent film is in Philadelphia, and what do we need to do in order to grow it?
I mean, I'll just say that I think Rel's point is such a great one. I so fully 100% agree. Just the idea of the collective, and that as filmmakers, all of us being able to kind of band together and to read each other's work, starting there. Because I think that, to answer your question, for me at least, I think that I don't know that I can say I understand the full breadth of the state of cinema in Philly, but I think that the way to make anything better is to cultivate writers, and I believe so strongly in that. And I think places like Scribe, which is a magnificent, beautiful place that serves the community, and places that are kind of like that, I think that It would be really beautiful to have screenwriters because it's free. You can have your day job and still write. You can wake up at 6 and write and go to work at 8. That kind of thing. You can feed your kids and write. And that to really kind of cultivate a real kind of collective of writers so that, and that people who are maybe a little more experienced, like you've written 5 screenplays and somebody's written 1, that like it's a hard thing because we're all busy, but to be able to kind of come together so that the person who's written 5 can read the work of the person who's written 1 or the person who hasn't finished 1. That like, I like this idea of the collective and that in some way everybody in this town can kind of band together and kind of give back a little bit and help the person behind them, or maybe just somebody's behind them just because they haven't written as many screenplays, but they've made some films, whatever. But just the idea of kind of coming together and contributing back in a way to the community, especially in ways that really, I think, builds a foundation, because writing is hard, and it's hard to do it alone without a community. But to me, I think that would be a really great thing, and I think that's the way that you make better filmmakers, and that's the way you make Philly filmmakers better. It's just,
I see it a little different. Being as though there's no studio here or no producers with a contract from like a Sony or a Columbia, there isn't an industry here. There's just filmmakers. So that means there's just people getting money from individuals making movies, or a studio might come here, leave, pack up, go back. So there isn't really a film industry here. It's just people making movies, going to Hollywood, trying to get distribution. So until someone gets a deal, so to speak, or a studio comes here and builds a studio, then there is no industry here.
Well, Jamal, I disagree with that, though, man. Because what I found is that it's all independent filmmakers, though.
Microphone?
What I found is that it's really all independent filmmakers. It's very few people that I know with studio contracts. Like the Overbrook guys have a studio contract, but most people are just hustling money and making movies.
That's true.
Everywhere. I'm not just talking about black filmmakers. I'm talking about most people making movies, hustle up some money, and they make a movie, and then they go and try to put it out. Right. But that is the business, though.
To a degree, but there are guys that I.
But I don't completely disagree. I just wanted to add that caveat. Really,
but again, my point being, that's still not an industry. That's just that's independency. So.
There's a difference between music, so to speak, and movies is you don't need a company to put your movie out.
Well, when you have $800,000 you have to pay back to somebody, you need a studio involved at some point.
Yes.
So.
But that's different, though. You can get your film distributed. You just have to do it right.
Right. But the good thing is, like, as Mike is saying, like there is a strong, I believe, as everyone here has said, there is a strong conglomerate of black filmmakers here. There is an independent presence here. The fact that we've all had to trailblaze our own route to get our films out is in a lot of ways miraculous. Charlie is Jamal's angel. Somewhere Tanya had an angel for her film. James and myself, some of my investors are here. Michael Campbell and Jim Keller, some others are here. Somewhere along the line, though, we've all had someone to say, I have faith in you as a black filmmaker to help you get your vision to the screen, in my case, or wherever everybody's case is. Someone shared that vision, so I believe that the industry, as far as independent black filmmaking here in Philadelphia, I believe is possibly the strongest in the country. I don't know, like when I travel to New York and LA, I don't see black, they might come to a festival, they might come to like the Hollywood Black Film Festival, but as far as like, thanks to you, Mike, in Reelblack, Philadelphia is probably one of the richest independent black mecca places, I believe, in the country.
So, thank you for that. So James, I'll direct this one to you. Like a while ago, we were talking on the phone. You were out in LA, and the heading for this is it a black thing? Are there specific issues that affect black filmmakers differently than just plain independent filmmakers? And from your experience, do black filmmakers approach the business differently than more mainstream producers?
Well, I mean, that's a long question. I'll try to answer it in a short form. There's one of the first things I learned when I got to LA is that there's a distinct line in the sand between black Hollywood and white Hollywood.
Absolutely.
Like everywhere I would go where there was black people, there was no white people. And everywhere I would go where there was white people, there was no black people.
But is that a function of LA or the city planning?
Well, I mean that's part of it. That's why I said I was trying to do it in a brief answer. I mean, but I think that I don't think it was a segregation thing. I just think that, you know, unfortunately that there has been that historical segregation built into the business. You know, even to the point where we were talking in the back, like one of the anchor points that people use to create independent films is the fact that you can sell your films on the on the international market. You can sell it around the world, but that's really based on who's in your film. Well, I don't know if unfortunately is the right word to use, but unfortunately, having black people in your film doesn't give your film any value on the international market at all. Like, I mean, even to the point where, you know, the film Think Like a Man couldn't get distributed internationally. And that was a #1 film in the country.
But you'll make a point that that's a fallacy, right? I mean, that it's actually a marketing thing.
Well, it's not a marketing thing, unfortunately, and I'm not going to use but certain words. I know this is being recorded, but but there's a reason that happens, and unfortunately there has to be some, you know, I think that we, you know, this, you know, the fact that we are all filmmakers and that more and more filmmakers are entering the space, I think that onslaught of content, and also the fact that nowadays you have the web to give people more unfiltered content. I think that more and more the playing field is being a little bit more leveled, but I mean certainly there's a serious difference between black Hollywood and white Hollywood, and black films and non-black films. Like, I mean, like for example, like you could take a film with some average white actors you guys have never heard of and do pretty cool with it, but you could go and do a film with like, I don't know, what's the dude from the Brothers, man, with the haircut and whatnot? Like Taye Diggs even. Taye Diggs is a big actor, but Taye Diggs really couldn't sell a film for you, unfortunately.
Right, so what you're saying is
That's
that...
because we're not supporting the films.
That's
We don't
right.
support all
But
the films.
there's a lot
That's
of that
right.
too. That's why I said I wasn't trying to
Again, so
dominate.
and again,
Oh,
what
microphone.
y'all say, I've experienced it on both sides of the fence. Again, because of who I'm associated with. So you take a film like Hitch, and as big as Will is, the studio was telling him that he couldn't translate internationally. So Will was like, no, that's not true because my records sell internationally. So he went as Mel Gibson did and pretty much banked on himself. He was like, clearly I go and I travel throughout the world. The thing about it is Martin wouldn't go overseas to promote Bad Boys. Will did. So therefore, he went on the soil. The thing is that we don't support our own films here.
That's right.
The Think Like a Man, that was a phenom, and I'm glad that we did, and we should give ourselves a round of applause for that, you know what I mean, that we did that, you know what I mean? But for the most part, we don't support our own films, and we want other people to support us when we want to support ourselves. So again, the reason why the international support isn't there, because we won't go over there to work the film. Whenever a film comes out that Will does, he's over there for at least 6 weeks. At least 6 weeks.
I think
So
that's
are you
such a
saying
good.
Go ahead, please. No, go ahead.
Well, I mean, I just want to sort of say that I think that it really is in the marketing, and I think that this. I mean, essentially, what you're saying is the marketing. It's the idea that ultimately that we are not.
I'm saying on the ground, we're not supporting. I'm talking about home, we're not supporting them. So therefore, I'm not going to put money into it to support it internationally because you're not supporting it here at home.
Are you talking about the
Well-
actors or?
No, I'm talking
No, he's right. I'm gonna tell you what. I'm gonna tell you another point. Why
But
Charlie?
I do want to say one
Go ahead.
thing, because I do think it goes beyond us as Black Americans.
Yes.
And I just feel like that's a really important thing. That this country, it's not just us, right? You travel to Japan, there are Black people there. You travel to all over Africa, filled with them. You know, you go to India, Black people, Ghana. I mean, you know, wherever. You go to Jamaica, you go to the Caribbean. We are everywhere. So then you got to really question this logic when somebody says to you, the film with somebody who looks just like you, I cannot sell that in India. That makes no sense. It's like, it's illogical. And so I have been on the other end of that, as I'm sure you have, when somebody says to you, I had a film about the Black Panthers, and I was being told there was no way, we couldn't even sell the film. I was like, really? But the Panthers were like in Israel, they were in Tunisia, they were in Japan. Like, how is that possible? It comes down to marketing, and I think it's basic, and I just don't buy any other idea of what it is. And I think that, to me, your point actually, I hear you about the local, and I agree with you fully. But I also think the idea that Will Smith goes out and makes himself accessible to market, that's marketing.
Marketing, and again, the thing about it is, and I tell Will this all the time, he has a relationship with his audience. People know when you go
Charlie,
see
microphone.
film. You say what?
Right.
Microphone.
He knows when he goes and does his films, he has a relationship with his audience. People know what they're going to get. You know what I mean? The thing about it is that we got to be able to come with, like, everybody is not a great writer. Some people are just a writer. The thing about it is that on the other side of it, they're getting the best. They're getting the best people at the table. We don't necessarily do that all the time. But again, we want them to validate us when we're not doing that ourselves. Exactly. Yes. So I'm saying that, again, you got to be really serious about this. But you understand, that's the ceiling. Film is the ceiling. Yes. We got music, TV, film is the ceiling for them. For Hollywood and entertainment, that's it. They're not going to let us, as people of color, mess that up at no point in no time. I've been in those rooms, and I'm telling you, they're not playing no games about that. Like one film, you got to figure if, again, I got to speak about Will's films because that's what I've been involved in. You take a film like Men in Black, so it'd do, the budget's 150, it'd do 150 here, but it'd do another 300 million outside the U.S. That's pretty powerful. That's a lot of money. You know what I mean? You take a film like Spider-Man and Men in Black, and they spent probably 300 million on films all throughout the year. They actually got all their money back off of 2 films. So they're not playing no games with that. That's how they pay their bills. They're not playing with it. So we can't play with it. We got to come to the table correct. We got to come there with great content. We got to come there with great stories because at the end of the day, it's about that story. You got the great story, they're going to take it from you. I'm telling you that because, again, now that's the reason why Overbook gets his own studio because they seen that Will can deliver. But he had to go and fight for that. I'm telling you, at this point, at Men in Black 2, it still was in question. At Men in Black 2, that's why Michael Jackson happened to be in the film. You know what I mean? It was like they feel like they needed other elements to be in that film. So he was put in the film. It wasn't because Will and Barry Sonnenfeld and Tommy Lee Jones wanted him in the film. He was in the film because he translated internationally. So whatever they needed to do, get their money back, get their return back, that's a lot of money to bank $150 million. You need that return. Or somebody's job is going to be on it. It don't matter what. I don't care what color it is. You got to, at the end of the day, you got to bring that return on my dollar.
Yes. Charlie, let me add one thing. Another demon, the demon that we have not addressed yet as far as black filmmaking as far as white filmmaking, you mentioned, we can mention Spider-Man and The Dark Knight. Black films are extremely, black films are extremely bootlegged. Bootlegging, whether we can sit here all night and talk about how great our scripts are, when your film is on the street before it comes out, the black filmmaker has already been shot in the foot.
That's what
to the point that, let me tell you what I did with changing the game. This is what I did, because we were sitting down with AMC, and AMC was like, well, what do you want to do? I said, look, this is what we're going to do. Every theater we release this film in, I want to make sure that there was someone there. My film played in Cherry Hill. I went to every screen in Cherry. If I saw a bootleg, I was going to break a neck. I'm telling you, I'm serious. I went to every screen, and not because I wanted to meet everybody and shake everybody's hand. That was part of my plan. That's what they thought I was doing. In reality, I was in there looking to see if anybody had a camera phone bootlegging any part of my film. Because the black filmmaker, as hard as any of us here we are killing ourselves to make small independent films. When we finally get distribution for the movie, you got people out here who are probably in the studios that we dealing with. It could be an inside job for all we know. For all we know, somebody could be on the take at Lionsgate or whatever studio we dealing with on the side and saying, here's a copy of Changing the Game before it comes out. And you've already shot the black filmmaker in the foot. So of course our films are going to make as much money as the big white films because our films are already being bootlegged, sabotaged, whatever it is. But American Gangster was on the street months, clear. I mean, clear as a bell. I'm looking at all of you in the room before it even came out. Since Denzel was such a big star, that film still made money. But a small film like mine with Sean Reeves or Irma P. Hall, or yours with Vincent D'Onofrio, or yours with Anthony Mackie, or yours with any of our films, when those films are out on the street a month before release, we already dead before we even have a chance to live. And we got to stop that bootlegging, because nowadays people think it's a compliment to have your film bootleg. Oh, your film is bootleg, man. That's the joint. I saw your film on bootleg, brother. That's the joint. No, it's not. You're killing me. I hope that makes sense. I'm sorry.
Right. I'm saying, no, you're correct. Is what I was saying about supporting your film. Yes. We're not going to the box office. We're going to wait till Homeboy come and sell it to us in the barbershop. And that's unfortunate, because again, then you can't track his film and see that he actually delivered it. Our film, again, we haven't even put it out, through a distributor yet, because it's been all over the street. I'm saying the BET copy. And I'm like, that's not even really the raw essence of it, but they didn't care. Like the day that they hit BET, the day was all over the street. So it really murdered us. But again, for me, we don't support our films and our filmmakers. So come on, you got to get it together. We got to get it together internally. And again, I don't know, again, we do know that somebody inside is giving those films out. We do know that. There ain't no...
Let me say something. The BET thing for us was strategic. We knew that our best chance to win would be on TV. Just put it in everybody's house for free at one time.
Right, exactly.
Get everybody in front of their house, in front of their TVs, and you don't have to worry about the bootleggers. You don't have to worry about who's coming out to the theater or anything.
Right.
It's free. Watch it.
Yeah, we didn't depend on the box office. We was like...
Nah. It was strategic, and we just needed our toe in the door.
So the question is, all right, there's a lot of filmmakers in the building. They don't have $150 million. I know y'all. Y'all ain't got no $150 million.
You said I know most of y'all.
Y'all wouldn't be sitting here. You might have $10,000. You said you took $10,000 of your own money, you and your mom, to make your first movie.
Yeah.
Right.
I just wanted to take a shot.
Yeah, everybody, there's a lot of filmmakers here. They're going to use their family money, their house equity, all that kind of stuff to make movies. In my experience, if you go the theatrical route, it's really hard to make that kind of money back unless you match it with promotion. I mean, what's a smart budget for like a dollar amount for a first-time film?
Here's the thing that me and Will talked about after Streets. He was like, you proved that you don't need anything to make a good story.
No, he said a dollar.
Yeah, what's
A
a dollar?
dollar
What's a
amount?
good dollar
I
amount?
wouldn't-
Like knowing
I
what
wouldn't even put a
distributors
price.
are paying now, or what you can make back in today's market. Like, what's the most you would spend?
I think that I'm a firm believer, and look, I think that I get the big movie thing.
No. I'm just saying. I know he's saying we spent no money. So I'm saying I'm with you.
Yeah.
Maybe,
No, I mean,
so,
but I think it's everybody's sort of great desire, right? I mean, you want to be able to have a budget. Like if you have a budget for 100, pardon?
No.
You said how much to make the movie?
Listen.
All right, look,
I'll give you the number. I'll give you the number.
Go ahead.
Whatever. Listen, I'll give you the number. It's what you can afford. Okay.
I got you.
Okay.
Let me tell you what I did.
So-
I hear you, brother. I hear you. But here's what I did. You spent $25,000. My budget for changing the game was I had initially budgeted for $5 million. I'm just being honest with you, right? Let me just be honest with you. This is what happened. I tried to raise money. We tried to raise money. We ended up spending more money on the investor than the investors spent on us. I'm flying around trying to meet up with investors. That's out of my pocket. So by the time you don't write me a check, I'm out of $10,000. So at one point I said, you know what? We raised what? We raised $200,000. Let's just shoot the damn movie. Let's just shoot it.
Right.
So changing the game was made for under $500,000 total. That's all deferred costs, right? Let me break it down to you. You want straight talk? I'll give you straight talk. $500,000 changed the game. Everything is done. Deferments, everything is paid. AMC and Lionsgate buy that film back, and they say, well, look, if you want your film to be in the theater, we're going to hold that against your advance. Because I wanted my film to be in the theater. That was my whole plan. My film Trainwire was on DVD. I wanted to change the game to be in the theater. So they took some of my advance money to hold it against me to put that film in the theater. But the good thing is that my $500,000, since my budget was low, is still really a low budget. Anything under $1 million is a low budget. $25,000, you can make a movie. That's a miracle. So, but a $500,000 movie is not a hard thing to make your money back, because nowadays you have Redbox. You have Netflix, you have cable, you have Amazon, you have there's even sites online you get paid to watch a movie. So my $500,000 will be paid back to my investors in a very short time, because my whole plan was to keep the budget under $500,000 once I realized I could not raise $5 million. I hope that answers your question sufficiently. Yes, sir.
Okay. Nuts and bolts. So, all right, moving it along. Apprenticeship and mentorship. Did you have any mentors coming up? What was your apprenticeship into the game? Do you believe in apprenticeship, the value of working for free?
I think so. And again, for me, my first time being on a set, I was around, the Hollywood's best, you know what I mean? The first film I worked on was Amy the State. So, I mean, again, so I just happened to be, in a room with the best that the business had to offer. So, yeah, I was working not for free, but next to nothing. But I would have did it. I mean, again, I would do it today. Jamal got a chance to be with Akiva Goldsman, man, again, you can't pay for that. I know some kids that come there and they're PAs and their mother paid $500,000 to get them through film school, and they're there being a PA for Michael Mann, and he got a chance to do it, and made a couple dollars, I guess, for a train ticket. But I mean, yes, I would definitely work. I think you should. It makes you, you got skin in the game. You earned your way up.
Is it hard? Is it hard to
everybody, I
find
think everybody that that has done something great, they probably, were in there for free, and they would do it any day. I think you should.
No, you have.
Yeah, you have to.
It's like going to the gym,
just sitting around with all them weights around. You're not going to get big by looking at those weights. You got to put some skin into it. You got to get into that bar. You got to hurt.
Right, get in there. And ain't nobody gonna give it to you. They're not gonna give it to you. The only way you're gonna make that happen is you doing it yourself.
But I would also say that I think that that you have to. I think working as a PA, which I think we've all done,
Not me.
I've done it a lot. But the one thing I'd say is that I think for anybody who wants to make movies now in the time that we're living, I think that you should make product. So whatever it is that you're doing, like I think that working as a PA is great. It's great to get coffee because you want to get up a ladder, right? Like, no, seriously,
right,
and I never got paid for it.
Right.
However, if I was sort of coming of age now in what I think is sort of like this black renaissance of filmmakers, I think it's about making product. I don't think it's about getting coffee. I think it's about partnering with somebody and saying, you know what, I want to produce. So let me co-produce your film. Let me hang out and I'm going to do this. Or if I don't know. I feel like it's about the active participation of mentorship, yes, but also products, because it's all about learning and having something in your hands when you're done, as opposed to I'm working for the fancy guy or something. I don't know. So, as well as working, PA stuff, so you can get a job and make money.
And filmmaking is one of those crazy things. You have art and commerce, and they're totally different from one another. So, I mean, if this means anything, advice-wise, it's like learn the art. Bathe your eyes in books about making movies first. Like, business is going to be business. If you got a good movie, then you can start worrying about business. But before then, you ain't got to worry about no business. Learn to make movies as best as possible first, and then business might come.
Yeah, I was actually going to touch on that lightly towards your earlier point. I didn't get to mention that earlier because I thought it was said a little bit, but with regard to what I've seen, like I lived in LA for 5 years before I came back over here and wanted to build my Philadelphia-based company to start developing local content. And what I found immediately the most shocking was that the people I was working with were far, far less experienced than the people I worked with in LA. And unfortunately, not even unfortunately, I'm not even using that word. People locally need to put in the time, like everybody's saying, to learn your craft. That's like because a film is to tie this together. A film is a valuable thing. It's a thing, like a car or a house. It's a thing. So just pulling out a number, saying how much is something worth is not useful in a vacuum. A film has to be worth more than it cost, and that's it. And so you have to figure out how much your film is worth, what you can do with it, and then you can start backing into how much it's going to cost.
I so fully agree with that.
Yeah, you got to figure out what you're doing, and so you need to put in the time. Like for example, now let's to take it one slight step further. If I'm building a house, and this is I've been working and grinding and really to be able to build houses, And I'm like, yo, I'm ready to go. And you're like, man, you know what? I never built a house, but I've always thought about being a carpenter. Can I do the carpentry in your house? No. I'm going to say no. And don't call me again.
No matter how much money you got.
Right, exactly. Like, you can't do the carpentry in my house. So if you haven't worked on something that, like you can't do a job you've never done before on a project that I'm working on. You can't.
Well, or along this idea of the collective and of the mentorship, if you want to come in and be the fifth producer on your film and you're willing to work for it.
Right, that's kind of to tie this together. Like, it's about putting in that work early.
Yeah, you still got to put the work in.
I've done things on set. I've had to drive the trucks. I've taken the trash out. I've never done PA stuff, but I'm a producer, so things got to get done. At the end of the night, you got to wrap by a certain time. Everybody got to be paid. Everybody got to be fed. All the books got to be closed. All the contracts got to be done. So all those things have to be done. And when you're the dude in charge, you are the one that's responsible for all of those things.
I got to say one thing. You asked about mentoring, and I think it's important to realize as a black filmmaker is that you never know where your help is going to come from. If you think that another black person is indebted to help you, you're going to be in for a rude awakening, because one of the things you're going to learn in this industry is that it's a lot of jealousy in the film industry. You want the truth, I'm going to be honest with people in the room. I know another way to be, but straight. You can go to somebody tomorrow that you look up to in this industry and say, you know what, I've always looked up to you, can you help me out? And when that door slams in your face, you're going to be hurt. Your feelings are going to be hurt. But at that point, you got a decision to make. My mentor does not help me. Do I quit, or do I make my own way to be and not do what happened to me? See what I mean? That's the big thing you got to remember, that you have to realize that Charlie Mack is a celebrity, so he probably gets hit up by people every day. So if he says no to you to help you, you can't say, well, I'm going to quit now. You got to go out and create your own way to make your own film somewhere else, because there's very few successful black people in the industry. Everybody knows Will Smith. Everybody knows Tyler Perry. Everybody knows Spike Lee. That's you and 50 million other black people that are trying to go to the same people to get help. So your mentor might not be them, but it might be someone else that could be like them. So don't worry about color. Don't worry about color. You never know where your help is going to come from. But when you do get the help, just remember that somebody helped you, and then do the same for somebody else. That's the way you have to treat things. That's the way you have to look at things.
All right. I want to get to questions in a few minutes, but I did want to touch on a couple more points. If you could make your responses as brief as possible, it would be great, so we have more time for the audience. But, all right, speaking of that, I mean, okay, so, all right, Spike Lee's got too many people helping, but how easy is it to find crews of color? And do you make an effort when you are in production to hire people of production, of color on your productions?
I'm glad you said that. Clearly, again, back to this, the films that I've worked on, for the most part, it's probably about 300 to 500 people working on this film. And other than our interior crew, it's probably about 10 of us, but it's about 490 folks that don't look like us. That's a problem for me, totally. So when we did Ali and we went to Africa, I had an issue with the fact that we were in Africa, but yet and still we had all the South Africans, working on the film. That was a problem for me. I had an issue with that. I don't know if you know what the annual salary is over there in Mozambique, but the annual salary for a police officer is about $300 a year, right? And so, again, for the people that we were able to hire, I made sure that I personally gave, each person like $5,000. Right? Before we left, because they only made probably about, $200 or $300 for the 6 weeks that we were over there. They was able to take that money and send their kids to college. They said, I don't have to work for the next 3 or 4 years. Like literally, we probably gave about $40,000, $50,000 out, to people that worked with us. We brought a young man from Africa over here that started his own business. And again, in terms of what you're saying, he went back and again was able to bring over, more people. And again, so for me, I'm very passionate about getting more people of color in the union. It's Will Smith, that's one person, but it's 499 other jobs that's on Men in Black that are making substantial amounts of money. I'm talking about Will's hair guy and Will's makeup, they make probably about, over a 3-week period, they probably make about $75,000 for cutting one head and doing makeup on him. Like, how much makeup and how much hair do you need done? You know, so for me, I definitely, like, you think about Michael Ballhaus, if y'all familiar with Michael Ballhaus. He's the director of photography, and he worked on with us with Wild Wild West. So he's getting paid probably about $5 million, right, himself. And then he brings his son-in-law in, and he's the head, because the way they do it is genius. Genius. Like, the studio, the way they do that is they subcontract everything out now. So a studio like Sony, they'll have a camera company come in. So Michael Ballhaus, when you hire him, you got to hire his company as well, which is genius, because he got his daughter, his son, all of them making at least anywhere between $5,000 and $15,000 a week off these films. We don't do that. If I get on, forget you. I'm so passionate about, again, as much as I can help y'all get into that particular, because it's great if you can get inside of it, but it ain't easy. Believe that. So you're going to hear more no's, but look for that one yes. That's right. You're going to hear all the no's. You're going to definitely hear that. Get used to it. I said it. I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem hearing no. I want to hear yes. Okay? I want to hear yes one time. And again, so I would tell you clearly, for me, I'm very passionate about getting people in the union. It's a great business. I mean, if you can get in, totally, you want to be a part of it.
All right, but even for like non-union, like Tanya, was it difficult for you to find people of color in key positions, or?
Yes. Yes, and I requested it, and it was an uncomfortable moment. I mean, you know, look, I think that I remember when I was in college and Spike Lee, you know, it was still NABIT, I think, back then, before sort of NABIT sort of faded and IATSE was the union of the day, and I remember what he used to do. You know, he'd bring in an intern on whatever movie, and they would be like in the grip department. They'd be, you know, and the key would know that, you know, the white key would know eventually that, you know, 3, 4, 5 movies down the road, when that black intern had risen through the ranks, they'd take his job. I mean, it's very uncomfortable, whatever, but, you know, the reality is that all of those union jobs are, you know, they are white, but they're also exactly the thing of, like, they're in the family. And if your family is under that umbrella, that's what it's going to be. You know, so I think that's one half of it. And I think the other half is, you know, again, because I'm always interested, you know, I don't make big movies. I don't see that in my future. I think it's more thinking on the other half, which is sort of how do you make these small movies? And if in the small movie realm, I say it's, again, the collective, you know? It's who's the amazing DP who nobody wants to hire because they just haven't hired that person yet. So that's the person, you know, you sit down with. That person becomes your partner. And who's the amazing designer who has only done 5 movies but is great and is, you know, that becomes your, you know what I'm saying? I feel like that, to me, on the big movie end, I think I very much agree with you that it's a, you know, the union is tough and it's segregated depending on, you know, what department you're looking at. But I think on the small movie end, I think it's about finding your team, and it's the intimacy of family, and it's the intimacy of the, you know, of the collaboration. And I think that's how you move forward. You know, that's how you get your producer who's black, because not because that person's black, but because you have something in common with them, because there's a unity in terms of subject matter that you guys want to tell, and that it becomes a love affair. And why are you with your DP? It's not because that person's black, it's because ultimately you see things the same way, and that person becomes your family, and it's the collaborative and the collective, and it's the thing that you keep them. Editors are hard to find. You get one, you hold on dearly. You know, DPs, a guy who's not a jerk, but also like an incredible artist, you know, hard to find those people. You hold on for dear life. So I think to me, that's the thing. That's how you solve, at least on the indie end, that problem.
And to add to what Tanya's saying, it's like, those are 2 different animals altogether. Studio filmmaking, independent filmmaking. Studio filmmaking, agents, politics, big-time actors. Can I get him? Is he available? On the other hand, independent filmmaker, who's the best? Who's the raw? It's art and commerce, again. And which one do you want to play with, art or commerce? And I go back and forth with that in my mind all the time, because, again, I have big movies I want to do and small movies that I need to do, but again, it's art and commerce. It always plays a game in my mind, which one is going to win over as an artist.
It's cool.
And the good thing, I'll make a quick point, Mike, is that that's the beauty of our position, is that if we're in charge of our movies, if I'm the director of a film, or James is the producer, Charlie is executive producer, Jamal is the director, Tanya's director, we have final say of who gets hired on that crew. So we can always make a door open for someone of our own. If we didn't do that, we're doing a disservice to black filmmakers like Oscar Michaud and Gordon Parks and other people that kick the door in so we can get opportunity. But on that note also, I read a story that Quentin Tarantino gave Denzel Washington's daughter a job on Django Unchained. And I thought that was interesting because a lot of people don't know that a lot of the films that are made about black people or starring black people are not directed by African American people. So there's a line that has to be drawn on what really is a black film and what's a not black film. If my cast is all black and my story is black, my director is not black, is that still a black movie? If I made Django Unchained, would it have done as well, or would it have got made at all? See, it's the things you got to look at. It's a lot of, as we all said, a lot of pitfalls and caveats in here. But the bottom line really is that you have to look at the whole picture of the filmmaking industry, because we're not, the odds of us being here right now, 5 black filmmakers, is a miracle in itself, because the industry is not made for black people to come in and kick a door open and get films out on BET or AMC or Magnolia, which we all have to deal with distributors. We were set up to fail in this industry from the beginning. So the fact that we're all here in this room talking about black filmmaking being successful is in a lot of ways something that we all have to leave here and celebrate.
Absolutely. So we're going to open it up for questions. We have one here. We're going to Chris has the microphone, so I'll leave it to Chris. Like, we'll just work our way to the front. But like if you go next, and then Chris can pick out people, because it's going to be difficult for me to point folks out.
Okay.
Girl.
Oh, we have 2 microphones. Okay, so next. Okay, and then you'll figure it out.
I understand what you're saying about the segregation in Hollywood. I had a meeting at the DGA, was that 7700 Sunset or whatever. I was there, and immediately I'm seeing all these white faces in the building. It's on the 9th floor where you have to have the meetings. And they sent out a black woman to talk with me. That was the first thing. Very kind woman. I'm not going to say her name because somebody might know her. But she shared a lot of information with me about the racism within Hollywood. What I'm trying to say, or the question I'm trying to ask is, with that being the case, and I shot out there, and people were looking at me like I was crazy because I am a black filmmaker. But because of that, why haven't we done like the Indians and gone Bollywood? Why do we keep trying to aspire to get their, acknowledgement? I mean, you did a phenomenal job on The Night Catches Us, and I was extremely upset by the fact that you guys were snubbed at the Academy Awards. You were. I think Carrie and Anthony should have gotten nominations. And people were saying, oh, they probably will, but of course they got snubbed. Why do we keep aspiring? Why haven't we branched off? Why haven't we become separatists? Excuse me, screw them. Because, let's be honest, we keep trying to, to put an extreme analogy, we keep trying to appease to master. He doesn't care about what we're doing. So why don't we put all of our resources together and try to start out? That's how Hollywood got the formation began in the first place. Somebody went out to California, stole the land from the Mexicans, and created their own area. So why haven't we done that yet? And what do you think? What are your thoughts on that?
That's a good question.
I guess I think that I think distribution is key. And I think distribution is money, but it's also vision. And I think that the web is going to change a lot. I think if you don't have TV advertising, you don't make money on your movies unless you work really hard, pounding the pavement. I just think it's really hard. It's about connecting to everybody, whereas I think if you don't have TV, you're kind of in the specialized sort of niche, sort of market. But I guess I don't know that I have a great desire to sort of separate. I feel like I live here, right? So I want to figure out a way to find to make movies that speak to everybody. And I don't mean that in sort of a Pollyanna sort of way. I mean that actually in a really basic kind of money way. That I think that the difficulty is that films cost a lot of money, and that even if you make $1 million or $500,000 film, you got to pay back your investors. In our case, we didn't. Like we made so little money because we were marketed not very well. But I think that to me, what you're asking for in reasonable terms and realistic terms, like what can really be done, is how, as people of color, can we get a handle on the distribution mechanism? Because that's the real thing, it seems to me. Everybody can make movies, no matter what you are. You can write, you can try to get it made. There's a renaissance going on right now. But how do you sort of, once those films are made, how do you get them seen? And I think that where the rigging begins, in my mind, is that it begins with the television advertising, which is inaccessible because it costs so much money. Then the next piece of the rigging is, how ultimately do I get to the grandmother in Mississippi? Like, how do I access her? How do I find a way to kind of talk to her? But then how do I get her to listen to me? Because I think that we are conditioned as just consumers to consume very specific things. And so that goes to this idea of like supporting each other. Well, people want to be supportive, but it's like, if I like to do this, you got to really convince me to go do something else, to go eat something else. And then I think the third piece of it, which I feel like is the most important and obvious, it's like the HBO in Spanish analogy that I always use. At some point, HBO got wise, and they were like, oh, if we put a channel in Spanish, we'll get this massive influx of people who are going to pay to be, part of our channel. And I feel like it's the same thing with marketing and looking at all of the brown people that like live on the planet. And I feel like if Nigeria, and Nigeria, yes, there are parts of it that are wealthy, but it's, it's ultimately a country that half people are struggling, like my own country in Jamaica. But I'm telling you, like when I go home to Jamaica, people get into their finest clothes and they go to the movie theaters. And this is a country where like there are trench towns, people are like poor. So I feel like there is a way to sell what is so amazing about Black American culture that we know, that everybody else knows in terms of music. There's a way to sell that to the rest of the world. Just some smart person hasn't figured it out yet. And once they do, it'll be like the HBO in Spanish moment. Like, oh, I can sell Black culture to people in Japan. Why? Because when I go to Jamaica, I see Japanese kids with dreadlocks and Bob Marley t-shirts.
That's right.
So.
Cool. So, we have a question here. We'll try and get as many as possible, but we have one here, then Mike there.
So recently in the country, the conversation that we've been having about gun violence and just guns in general, and in a lot of movies nowadays, there are a lot of guns, obviously. Do you think that plays a role in Black film and in telling the Black story accurately in respect to like gangster films and things like that? And with this conversation of guns in the country, do you think that will change certain ways that Black films are portrayed and put out?
Unfortunately, what I've seen is that there is an appetite for there's an appetite for dark Black films, like even to the point where if you view the same content on two different channels, one a Black channel and one a not Black channel, a different version is shown on the Black channel, because when Black entertainment is usually a lot more. The demand from Hollywood has always been to make Black guys into gangsters and thugs, et cetera. And so I don't think that the gun violence talk really is going to have any effect on that, unfortunately, in the short term. Because I think that the appetite's still there. When you talk to the studios, unfortunately, you hear that, every once in a while I get a call, hey, such and such, just a Black exec just took a job over here, somebody you should give a dude a call. And he's like, oh man, well I need something like, not to call a nice film, but like Streets is Watching or like Paid in Full or something where it's just, they want that gritty street stuff at the studio level, regardless of what other stories you have. So, that's the desire to, if the history of film has been to make Black dudes look like that. So, and I don't think the gun violence conversation really affects it right now.
Well, it's the thing like this. what do you call a movie like Streets? What's the difference between a movie like Streets, like we did, that killed 6 people, and then you have Avatar, who killed how many people?
Yeah, there's plenty, couple hundred.
How many people got killed in Avatar? I never understood when a black person dies in the movie, it's considered gang violence or criminal movie making. And then when somebody else does it, it's like, wow, we got to give that thing a couple Oscars. It's just weird to me. It's just, when I hold the mirror up to my community, it's, oh, wow, they're terrible people. But when you hold it up to Vietnam, every Vietnam movie I've ever seen got an Oscar nomination.
Cool.
So I don't have the answer for that, you know.
We got one right
I
here.
do, but I won't say it.
I'm sorry. I'm just trying to move it along, no disrespect.
Okay, I came down from New York for this, and it was worth the trip. My question is about film festivals. That has not been mentioned. And in the past 2 years, there have been some successful black films in the film festival circuit. Middle of Nowhere, and this year, Fruitvale. Could anyone comment on the usefulness of film festivals for independent filmmakers, considering what's the current atmosphere?
I got a good answer for that, and whoever else, I'll make mine short. It used to be a time when you really needed the film festival to get your film out, like you needed Sundance. But if, as we all know, Sundance may get, let's say they get 10,000 films a year. If they accept 50 films, where are the other filmmakers going to go to get their films out there, right? So yes, we have Fruitvale, which will be successful, Middle of Nowhere, but there's millions of other black films that are made that are of high quality that don't have a festival to go to. And another thing, film festivals are very expensive to go to. Like, as a filmmaker, if I budget to go to Sundance, Berlin, here, I could be out of the whole budget of my film, bringing my whole cast and crew to every film festival. So you got to have a plan of what festival you have to hit. But the good thing is, if you don't get into a big film festival like Sundance, if you don't do it, because the chances of that is always lightning in the bottle, there are now other ways that you can get your film out there to the public. There's a woman at AMC, independent, they have their own arm of distribution to get your film in the theater. That's a black woman. Her name is Nicole Denson Randolph. You can look her up. Nicole Denson Randolph. She's a black woman, an executive at that place. And if your film is in a festival or not, if she likes your film, I mean, granted, she gets a lot of films a week, obviously, 'cause she's a black person that can put movie into a theater. But if she likes your film, she can put a plan together to get your film in a theater. So that being said, festivals are always great. They're prestigious, but they can't be the be-all, the end-all to your film's success, because it's not going to work.
Okay, last question.
How you doing? I just wanted to know, I guess this is kind of like a dual question for the panel members who also have been involved in the music industry. Seeing as how, I'm not a filmmaker, but I'm on the other side. Like, I'm an entertainer, that's what I like to do. What attributes do, I guess, casting or, you know, producers or directors look for in people in order to, like, have them stand out for them to be chosen either for music or film?
A resume.
Star power. You got to be able to put butts in the seats. That's it. Totally.
But really, I mean, when I say by resume, I mean you have to have usually done something. Like, you got to do something. Like, you can't show up, you know, like, this is my first time acting and I want to be in your stuff. Like, you know, you have to have done something, you know, to make people take you seriously as a professional. This is a profession.
Yeah, it's a reason why they use all the, you know, artists that are doing films and TV now, because they're bringing their audience to the table. So they're bringing something to the table. Not just, you know, I'm a rapper, I'm a singer. No, you got to bring something to the table. So, again, putting butts in the seats is great.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to bring back Kimberley. We have a little bit of housekeeping to do. Was this good for you? Was this good? Is it all? You got it free.
Can we all give Mike Dennis a round of applause for putting this together, please? Give it up for Mike, please. Reelblack.
Listen, really great job, and of course, our great panel. I just want to draw one connection for you. You have to voice yourselves politically. You want something from this city. This city has got to be something you want it to be. We have to decide what resources we put behind your creativity, your efforts. If you feel there's an injustice that needs to be dealt with, you need to let us know. all that you're doing, all that you're working for, but don't forget to push that button, to make a phone call, and to be vocal. You are filmmakers. You're voicing yourselves, but let us know how we can make this city better for you. So thank you very much.